Ryan here, your Thrifty Apprentice. Happy Friday and welcome back to another Thrifty Review. In today's Thrifty Review, we are taking a look at the Muhui 72 count of water-soluble pencils. Before I get into the review, I want to show you guys a demo so that you can see the pencils in use one last time before we jump into my thoughts. So here we have a 72 count pencil set that comes in a really super nice tin. Now, I have not had the best experience with the last couple of budget grade watercolor pencils that I've reviewed. They've been okay. They've been usable, but I haven't really come across anything in the last set or two that has really blown my socks off. Well, I think we may be crossing a different bridge at this point. So this is a really nice, sturdy tin, really healthy. It's going to definitely protect the pencils. There's some decent artwork on the front. This set is curated along a Van Gogh line of color scheme thinking. You can see sort of the top of the pencils here, and it lets you know that it pays tribute to Van Gogh series color pencils. All right. Flipping the tin over on the back, everything is pretty much printed in Chinese. What you get in English is the name, again, the Muhui, 72 colors, and a brush, artist quality, water soluble, blendable, with art, super quality colored pencils. And then the only information you can really read in this section is that the pencils are made in China. And lets you know that it's not for kids below 3. Recycle, looks like a couple of recycling symbols to let you know maybe the wood is recycled or to encourage you to recycle. So there is a code here. I did not try to source it. Well, actually, I think yes I did, and it didn't. I think it goes to a Chinese site and it wouldn't give me access to it. I have been thinking about getting a VPN to add so that I would have access to outside websites outside of this country, especially for when I'm doing reviews and I really want to research companies' credentials and history. So there you have that. The lid latches really nicely, even with things inside it. So if you open the tin, there is nothing printed on the inside of the tin, but there is a foam sheet covering the pencils to help further protect them, which is really cool. Really nice color. I was just kind of impressed at the tin being budget. Now here you have 2 trays of pencils, which come in a wide range of colors. There is a brush included, but let's be honest, it's a throwaway brush. It's not really, I mean, I wouldn't suggest using it. I would definitely suggest using one of your regular golden Tecline brushes in order to spread the pigments when dissolving these pencils in water. So there you have it. Both trays will remove in case you want to take the pencils out and use the tin for storage of some other type. Maybe put the pencils in a pencil case or roller case or something of that nature. Now the trays that the pencils are in is pretty flimsy, but hey, that is to be expected for a budget grade pencil. Pretty much, or even some professional pencils come in some pretty flimsy trays, but those are thinner than normal, although they do have these little grips on the side to help you grab them and lift them out of the tin. So the pencils themselves, I found all of them to be in really good condition. There were no chip. No, there was 1 or 2 chip lids, but not many. All of the pencils roll perfectly to let me know that there is absolutely no warping or misformation with any of the pencils. They do have a tritone color scheme. You're going to get gold, silver, and then there's a colored chip on the end that is supposed to be indicative to the color of the lid. However, it is a watercolor pencil, so I definitely suggest that you swatch it out on the paper that you use the most, because you'll be surprised at how the difference between the way the color looks from the lid and the way it looks being dispersed in water can be. So I think that is something that you should definitely keep in mind. Now the pencil is domed, so you cannot see right off whether or not the lid is centered. I can tell you, however, after doing a sharpening test, that about 50% of the pencils in this set had slightly off-centered lids. However, that didn't actually affect the performance of the pencil. I just think it was something to take note of. And of course, you couldn't tell that right off because it was domed. The pencils, as I said, sharpen well. They will come to a really sharp point. I did notice that depending on the type of pressure that you apply to the lead, you may have some breakage, but I didn't experience it a lot. But there were some times when I was applying pressure to get a little bit heavier consistency of pigment spread out across the tooth of the paper, and the lead did break a little on me, but it wasn't like constant breaking, or the breakage wasn't so bad that I would just be like, oh my God, these pencils just constantly break. Like, it's not like using a Prismacolor pencil. So that way you'll have a basis of comparison. All of the information that's printed on the barrel is actually in Chinese. The only thing that you can really understand is the name, Muhui, and then the color number. There are no color names on the barrel, and there is no light fast information included on the barrel or in the packaging. Now, of course, this is a budget set of pencils, so light fast information is not typically something that's included. Although lately I've started to see a lot of budget companies include pigment and light fast information with their products, and who knows, maybe Muhui would do it later on down the line, but at this particular point none of that information was included. So the pencils probably wouldn't be anything that I would necessarily suggest for commission work. However, let's just get into the quality of them, because I would definitely suggest the pencils, and I'm going to go ahead and say that now. Based on the price and the fact that the pencils are lightweight, they're not super balanced. I would say that they are made from a pretty economical wood, but they are easy and comfortable to hold. Keep in mind they are round, so they are prone to rolling, so you would want to keep up with them. Make sure that you take care of them. Try not to drop them. With the barrel being so light, dropping these pencils, I'm pretty sure, would probably crack the lid throughout the barrel of the pencil. So that is something that I would keep in mind. But as long as you take care of the pencil and you're careful with it, I don't see why you would really have any breakage issues. Standard barrel pencil sharpener or standard hole pencil sharpener sharpen the pencils. It is a standard pencil. The regular size lid is in it, so none of that was off. Now, the pigment lay down of the pencils, or the saturation in the pencil color, is pretty decent for a budget grade pencil. Now, there's a wide range of colors, and the colors will blend, which we're going to look at in a minute. There is a bit of scratchiness to the lid when you're laying them down in dry form, but that's kind of to be expected because most watercolor pencils do that. However, it's not hard to get pigment to release. They cover pretty well even on some smoother papers, because the mixed media paper it has less tooth in this watercolor paper, and they worked really well on both of those. They actually work pretty well on cardstock, so they could be used for crafting. The drawbacks that I have found with all of that being said was simply that one of the pencils came and I had to sharpen it down quite a bit in order to get to the lid, but there was only one of them, and it was this purple here. It was just this one, but all of the rest of them were fine. I didn't have any issues dispersing the pigment of the pencils with water, especially using a golden Teclon brush. They spread real easy. They're really bright and vibrant, especially the heavier you layer them. I did notice throughout use that you can allow a layer to dry and then go back to build saturation with these pencils without the bottom layer lifting too much, as long as you do not use too much water. And if you are familiar with watercolor pencils, especially budget pencils, one of the main drawbacks to them is that they do have the tendency to lift as you try to layer them. Now, I'm not saying that these won't lift. I'm just saying I did not experience as much lifting of the previous layer with these as I have in the past with other pencil sets. Let's see. I did not feel like I was missing any colors. There's a nice comprehensive range of colors all across the rainbow spectrum. You have warm, mids, and cools of pretty much every color family. They mixed and blend together really well. So here, let me let you look at that back swatch sheet just so you can see. These were the browns, the earth tones, the grays. There's only like 3 grades, but they're pretty useful. You get a light, a medium, and a dark, so you have a range of grades going up into the black. The white pencil, you know, left something to be desired, but I normally do not use the white pencil in a watercolor pencil set, to be honest. So that didn't really bother me too much. Now, I did some color mixing and some other tests on the pencils. Here I just did your standard split primary. I have a color that leans more towards lemon yellow, or more towards true red, and more towards an ultramarine. The yellow and the blue mixed together to give me a beautiful saturated green, which ironically enough, when I held it up against the greens that were actually included in the set, and there are a lot of them, I was still able to mix a different green, and I thought that was pretty cool. The red and the blue gave me a really saturated, beautiful violet. And the reason I wanted to do this is because I was curious, you know, what if I just grabbed 6 to 12 pencils and throw them in a travel set? How well are they going to blend and mix together? How many colors am I going to be able to achieve without taking all 72 pencils with me? And I was pretty impressed with the way they blended. The red and the yellow gave me a very beautiful saturated orange, and again, they mixed on, I was able to mix those on the paper. I simply layered the yellow, then layered the red on top of the yellow, and blended the colors on the paper, and they blended beautifully. You could even see the color change as you laid one color on top of the other in dry form. Really, really cool. Here we did a smudge test. The pencils actually did not smudge as much as I thought that they were going to. I had to rub pretty hard just to get that amount of smudging that I did. And I always remind you guys that my hands are oily. So I think that oil may have helped contribute to some of that smudge. So maybe if you have drier to normal skin, you may not experience any smudging at all. But that'll be a matter of trial and error. The pencils erased pretty decently. Now, this is a really cheap cellulose watercolor paper. And the paper itself kind of damaged as I was trying to erase, so I had to be really careful and not apply too much pressure. With that being said, even on this paper, they lifted back so that you would be able to see enough of the white to realize that there had been some lifting going on there. So I didn't find any issues with the erasing. Down here, I just kind of, with this block tool, took a few of the pencils because I wanted to see how saturated they would be if I was to use the pencils on wet paper. Typically, when you use watercolor pencils on wet paper, it forms a really hard line that doesn't blend out as well as if you were using it in dry form and then adding water to it. So I wanted to see the type of saturation I could get. And again, the pencils were pretty impressive considering. So that was that. Let me run through showing you some some artwork that I did with them. And again, I'm kind of running through this review really quickly because at the end of the day, considering the price, I don't think the pencils carry many cons other than the fact that, like I said, kind of off-centered with some of the lids. I had one pencil that was kind of broken down already in the pack, and they're made of a really economical wood, so there's not a lot of balance, but there's enough balance for you to use it without having any type of issues with your hands. So one of the first things I did was to do a perfume bottle, which I was using to turn into this card, which could be used for either Valentine or just a anniversary, whatever have you. And I was making these to go into the card shop that I'm going to have online soon. Worked really well. All of these that I'm showing you are going to be demos, including the one that you saw today. So you will be able to go and check those out, either from a tag that I'm going to stick in the top of the video or from the video description, which I'll try to remember to include links. I also did this rose with an assortment of the yellows, oranges, and reds. I think it turned out really nicely. The pencils just blended. They look so good. And this was done on 100% watercolor paper. This one was done on a cellulose paper. And you may not be able to tell, but those pencils were so saturated. This is actually a copy. I was able to put that on the copy machine and copy it, and it still came out looking really nice. So I was impressed with that. Here again, the rose, and the rose creation will be a different video from the actual journal creation. But this you will be seeing this coming out on the channel, or at this point it may have already been on the channel. You may have seen all of this already. And then of course lastly we did the fried eggs in the video today. I just kind of wanted to sketch with the pencils, see you know, just let you guys see them in use one final time. And then I really wanted to practice on keeping a lot of white in the paper without using like a gouache or a gel pen. So I was pushing and experimenting even with myself in this, and I really like the way all three of these turned out. I mean, no, they're not masterpieces, but they definitely give me a really good idea of the performance of these pencils. So as far as I know, currently you can only get the pencil set on AliExpress. So if this is something that you're interested in, and you have never ordered from AliExpress before, you are going to have to get comfortable with that. It is a Chinese-based site. They have ramped up their shipping, so it doesn't take nearly as long as it used to in order to get products off AliExpress. And these are currently running $22.99 for 72 pencils. And that's the current price of them. I think they have coupons and discounts on there right now too. I think there's a $5 off of an order over $99. There's like 1% off when you buy 2 pieces or more. And the pencils are currently marked down by 30%, making them $22.99. So now it's actually a really great time to buy them. They've been in that range for quite a while, so I don't really expect them to change. And at 23 bucks, this is an amazing set of pencils. I would even say save $2 or $3. Don't buy the $10, $12, $13 pencils. You know, save a couple of more dollars, add to it, and go ahead and get you a nice quality set, because I honestly think that this is a nice quality set of budget pencils. I mean, are they gonna blow you out the water? No, but they're definitely going to keep your attention. They would be wonderful for beginners. They would be wonderful for someone who's new to watercolor pencils. Maybe you are a watercolor paint artist and you want to try watercolor pencils out. I don't think you'd be disappointed here. They're going to be wonderful for crafters, which is what I've been using them in for my craft projects, my cards, my journals, the little painting that we did today. So they can be used across a lot of different spectrums. I found that they worked really well on a lot of different papers, and I was not dissatisfied or unpleased with the color payoff, the blendability, or the way they dispersed in water. So with that being said, I do consider this a student grade line of watercolor pencils. And on a student grade star scale of 1 to 5, these pencils will more than likely fall into a 4.0 for me. Yes, I recommend the pencils. If you are comfortable ordering from AliExpress, I do not think you will be going wrong if you decide this is a set that you would like to add to your art journey. So guys, there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right there. Didn't want this to be too long. Hopefully you heard, saw, or picked up on some information in this video that you have found helpful or useful. If you did, please do not forget to give the video a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel or returning and you haven't subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscription button and that notification bell so that you can keep up with all of the content that I have coming out for you guys. Please share the video. Sharing is caring, and maybe someone else would love to see the review or have been wondering about these pencils. Hit up the comments section. Let me know what you think. Have you used the pencils? Do you think it would be something that you're interested in using? Are you a watercolor pencil fan? Because I think that in some instances, people aren't watercolor pencil fans because they've tried a set of pencils that just were not that great. But there are some really good sets out there. And once a year I do a watercolor pencil tour, so I will be planning that in a few months, where I'll just kind of be going over, looking at and talking about all the different sets of watercolor pencils that I have in the studio. So you guys will definitely be seeing these again. Keep in mind, you can hit up the comment section for all of the relevant links, the most recommended product list, the Facebook group, paints, pencils, pastels, and markers, where we do all things artsy and crafty, and all artists and crafters are welcome. No matter what your medium is, you're welcome. I love the fact that it's an all-inclusive community. Patreon, as well as the Etsy shop, are listed in the video description if you're interested in supporting the channel. Once again, thank you so much. I'll see you guys back here on Sunday so that we can finish up that journal construction. And remember, as I tell you at the end of every single video, just keep painting and crafting.